Hello, hope you're having a good day. I'm TR Rose of Meow About Cosplay. In my last plush making video, I showed you that I have the official Fangamer Ralsei plush, and I made a Kris plush to go alongside. And I really like how they're about the same size and about the same shape, but we need the third member of the team to round out the group. My plan for this is that I would eventually like to have dark world versions for both Kris and Susie. However, to plan out the patterns and to do all the testing that I need to, I've decided to make the light world versions first out of fleece. That way I can figure out the shapes with a material that's a little bit more forgiving, it doesn't shed, and quite honestly, I've got quite a bit left over of. If you remember from my other video where I made the big Susie plush, I wanted to make her body a little bit bigger than the standard size because she's a whole lot larger of a character. So what I'm planning to do here is to use the Baby London Star pattern, same one I used for Kris, but at the 150% size instead of the 120. But because I don't want her head to be huge, I'm going to use the 120% for the back of the head. But for the front of the head, my plan is to use pieces from the Choli Knight Godzilla pattern. However, this is entirely too small. I've done some work in Photoshop and I've scaled it up. So I'm going to try making up a couple of samples and we're going to see what we get. I think the 130 is going to work better. The 130% worked really well and fit very well with the back of the head pieces. However, there are some seam lines there that are going to be in the way for when I do the embroidery. And also, much like when I made the big Susie, the forehead is too wide, so we're going to need to bring that in. So I made an adjustment on the forehead piece, and then my plan is to combine both the eye panel and the forehead piece into a single piece. So it'll have some darts coming down here, but it won't have the full seam line. By this point, I'm getting pretty good at patterning out the hair shapes. I've done this 3 times now. Once for my first Susie plush, second for the first suit we just completed, and now for this little one. I'd like to keep the eye style similar to Ralsei and Kris. So here you can see Susie is all finished up, and compared to Kris, she's a little bit bigger, and I wanted to make sure that her head wasn't too big proportionately for her body. And then when we put Ralsei with them, we have all three, and they look like they all belong to the same series. The nice thing about learning from your mistakes and continuing to work with the same basic pattern is I could fix a couple of things that I think I could have done better with Kris, and that I would like to do when I do the Dark World version. One of those is that I think I put enough poly pellets inside Susie. I don't think I put enough poly pellets inside Kris, because when I sit them down, they fall over. But Susie sits flat, she doesn't tip over. That might also have to do with the tail that she has in back. It helps kind of balance her out a little bit better. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and maybe you have some inspiration to start work on your own plushies. These weren't terribly difficult to put together. I'm going to put some links in the description of this video that point you to the patterns that I used to create this. Now keep in mind that all the clothing pattern and the hair patterns were designed by me, so there's no official patterns for those. However, if you use the basic body and head patterns that I link below, that'll give you a really good starting point for making your own plushie. And since we're not ever going to be getting official Light World plushies, at least the last I've heard, this will be the only way that you'll be able to add a plush like this to your own collection. So the next plans that I have is to start on some Dark World versions of these two. I think I'd also like to make a miniature Noelle plushie to match these two, because I think it'd be fun to have the whole Light World Heroes set. I don't think I'm gonna make a Birdly. Sorry, he's just not my favorite. But if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I'll definitely be doing more in this set. And most of all, hope you learned something, hope you had fun. See you next time.